So we can start. It's 21:30 GMT plus one. Hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of the free PMP PMBOK 8 training. This is the fourth session in the PMBOK series. Okay, so we tried in the first three sessions, we tried to cover some important parts of the PMBOK 8. And in today's session, we're going to focus on two major topics. First topic is the development approaches. For many people who don't know what's the predictive project management, what's adaptive project management, and what's hybrid project management, we will see just some snapshots of these approaches. Of course, we cannot go in details because that requires many more hours, which we usually cover in the full training. And the second major topic for today's session is artificial intelligence in project management. How to use artificial intelligence? What is artificial intelligence? What are the advantages of artificial intelligence, etc., etc. Right? Okay, good. Don't forget that this is just session for, this is session for in just the part of PMBOK 8. There will be two more sessions in the last week of March to cover the practical side of project management in Primavera P6 with real examples and practice. Don't miss that, all right? So, let me do a brief introduction. Okay, I want to do a brief introduction to help you guys understand a little bit of history for those who don't know project management, for those who join project management training for the first time, and even for those who either have already completed the PMP training or have already gotten their PMP certification, and they are in need of some knowledge refresh, or they wanna follow through with this topics. So actually, project management is one of the oldest professions in the world. I personally studied accounting in the last 2 years of my university. So the first 2 years I studied economics, then I specialized in accounting. I remember one of the professors told us that accounting is the second oldest uh, job role or job in the world. Okay, I kept that in memory, and then after a couple of years later, when I moved to project management and I started working in project management, I was asking myself all the time, how old is project management actually? And then, at least in the early version or in the previous versions of the PMBOK, it says that project management has been used by humanity since thousands of years, and the PMBOK, whether it's version 4, 5, 6, whatever version, they start mentioning examples like the construction of the pyramids in Egypt. That needed project management. Actually, that needed very advanced project management, thorough project management. So for the past hundreds of years, um, there were two major types of project management, and I'm going to be as honest as possible here, okay? There is the non-disciplinary project management, and this is what I have observed my father doing in 1996, which made me fall in love with project management. And I don't mean non-disciplinary project management is the ideal project management, but at least he, as a tailor, someone who never learned project management, he was trying to be organized, to organize, like, the work that needs to be carried out in the project. He was managing, manage resources, plan, follow through execution, make changes. That's called non-disciplinary project management. Unfortunately, and this is a truth, okay, non-disciplinary project management actually is the major type of project management being used in companies or by professionals or practitioners of project management, because it does not follow specific approach, specific methodology, not dedicated tools. It's just, doing project management, by instinct, like the way you think you want to do it or they want to do it. It's not really disciplined. It's non-disciplinary project management. And the other major type of project management in the past few hundreds of years, as I said, is actually disciplinary project management. It's not the major type. It's the other way around. It's like the just a small fraction of companies and people in the past hundreds of years have used this disciplinary project management, which in the past few decades has gotten a fancier name. We started calling it waterfall project management. And then in the past few years, we started calling it predictive project management. It's the same thing. It means exactly the same thing. Okay. So organizations like PMI, they came into the picture, and PMI since 1969. So what is PMI originally? It's a bunch of people who enjoy project management, who practice project management, who gathered for the purpose of disciplining, creating discipline in the function or in the job function of project management. Okay. So, the past 50, 60 years, maybe longer, in certain institutes and organizations, project management has been disciplined, has been, put on paper, in shapes, in forms, and and it was mostly waterfall predictive project management. We call it the traditional project management. Okay. And then in the past couple of decades, in particular since 2001, and more obviously since 2011 with the Industry 4.0, actually, agile project management has come onto surface, and now more and more companies and projects started using agile, even though the majority of those companies and projects are mostly in software industry, because agile originated from software. It is not applicable only in software; it can be applicable in any industry, but many organizations find it easier, to use agile in software and harder in other types of projects, even though it's not true what those companies think. And then in the past couple of years, okay, I would say 3 to 4 years, it's become more and more obvious that sometimes we don't need just pure waterfall project management. Sometimes we don't need just pure agile project management. Actually, we need something that copes with different phases or different aspects or different needs in the project. And that's why the past few years, hybrid project management has become more and more in demand and more better responding to the specific needs of projects and organizations. So these are the three major development approaches, not only because we see them in the PMP exam, as we have explained in session one, but because in reality, in practice, this is really what we're using, or what companies are using. Before starting this session, I think 2 hours before starting the session, I was digging into some of my old files, and I found a presentation that I shared almost 2 years ago with my coworkers in one of the largest seminars we had in Tunisia, with more than 800 attendees, 550 physically attending in that seminar, which we led, as Ben Hamada Consulting. Okay. And I was skimming through that presentation. I remember we have presented in that seminar more than 7 types of project management. Actually, we present 10 types of project management, I think. 7 of them are quite rare. It's not really the time to go through that now, but I just remember that when I was skimming through my documents. So, going to talk in the first part of this session about predictive, hybrid, and adaptive approaches overall. Just a couple of slides, really few slides, not many slides, just a few slides, because the larger, the bigger part of this session is about AI, the artificial intelligence in project management. And I think I will try to give you as many insights as possible and maybe even show you some of the tools like PMI Infinity and the agents it's got that could help project managers and explain to you how to use it, where to find it. Probably I would do that. Okay, we will see. Now let's start, with the spectrum of the development approaches. Now, I'll probably skip the. Look, I'll start with this one, then I go back to the other one. This slide is one of my favorites. When I'm teaching project management and explaining the difference between agile and predictive, I would go with this first because it's so easy to remember this one. All right. And again, I repeat, we only picked few slides from the full slide. So, in this free training, we only picked few slides. Usually, when we start a project, when the project manager is assigned to a project, it is the project manager's responsibility to decide which project management approach or methodology to choose for the project based on what. So you, as a project manager, you decide which approach to use for the project, but based on what. Let me tell you straightforward. It could be based on stakeholders' preferences. You could have in the project stakeholders who tell you this: we would like to receive a functional update every month. So the stakeholders asked for a solution or a product, and they don't want to wait until the end of the project. Okay, they actually want to get a piece of that product every month. Well, here we might need to go with agile and in particular with the incremental approach. Okay, because the incremental approach means you will build your product piece by piece, and each piece should be almost final, and the customer could test it, could even use it if necessary. Okay. Or the stakeholders could tell you, you know what, please work on this project. Just give us a few presentations, and then we want to have the full product at the end of the project. Well, here we will go with the predictive approach. Why predictive? Because they want to have just one delivery at the end. We don't expect many changes, so we will go with predictive approach. Or in case there could be many, many changes in the project, so the scope is not finalized, like we see here. Okay, the scope is not finalized. Then we would lean more towards adaptive approaches like agile, with all the types of agile, all the approaches and frameworks of agile. Okay, so actually, less changes, less or low frequency of deliveries, that's predictive waterfall project management. Higher degree of changes, a higher frequency of deliveries, like multiple deliveries in the project, that goes more, we would go more with agile. And agile, there are multiple approaches like the incremental approach, the iterative approach, etc. Okay. Incremental, that's when we don't expect many changes, but there will be a higher frequency of delivery. And iterative, that's when we don't have really clear scope. We need a lot, there could be a lot of changes. We would need a lot of feedback iterations with the customer. Whenever we build, whenever we advance, we need more feedback from the customer. But there will be one delivery at the end. So we'd go with an iterative approach, which is from the adaptive project management. So going back to this spectrum of development approaches, if we go with predictive approaches, when the scope is clear, we don't expect many changes. One delivery at the end, and even in this model, I need to explain something. Yes, PMI wanted to make things easier for the learners, and up until now, PMI try to present predictive as a format of one delivery at the end. However, let me tell you this. Even in predictive now, we could have multiple deliveries, interim deliveries in within the project. So we don't wait only until the end of the project to make a delivery because we could use different delivery cadences as we will see later in the project. Okay, so in the current version of the PMP exam, when we say waterfall project, we immediately think of two things: one delivery at the end and not no many changes in the project. That's what we should think of. But starting version 8, it could be possible that some of the PMP exam questions, there could be a waterfall project, but not with only one delivery at the end. That waterfall project would have uh, interim deliveries. Okay, so a couple of deliveries in within the project after, for example, certain phases or certain advancements or certain milestones. Okay, adaptive actually is more about trying to have more frequent deliveries in the project and opening or welcoming changes. Okay, and getting feedback from the users in order to improve the product. So I'm not going to go deep into those approaches because it takes time really to go through them. But let me tell you something. You will notice in the PMP exam 2026, the version starting July 9th, that actually there will be more questions on hybrid. Okay, why? Let me tell you why, and I will share with you a comment I put on the post of one of the project management activists on LinkedIn. Um, he said that real project managers, it's nice for them to have certifications, but certification like PMP doesn't add much. Something like that. He said something like that. And I told him, look, actually, the PMP exam itself, okay, it teaches people how to manage projects because almost all the questions at the PMP exam are situational and they put you in real project situation. So you have to know how to deal with or how to act in those situations, how what kind of decisions to take, what kind of actions to take, etc. So if you're not the real practitioner of project management, you wouldn't be able to answer those questions. Okay, so based on that. And because those questions, the PMP exam, they mostly come from real experiences of the people who wrote them. It is not really AI who wrote the questions. In most of the time, the PMP questions which you get in the PMP exam are written by people, practitioners of project management, people who have intensive experience in project management. So that, and they know, those people know that now they need hybrid more than any other type of project management. So that's why I think 20 to 30% at least of the questions in the new version of the PMP exam are about hybrid. People are saying even now, even in the current version based on PMBOK 7 and 6, 20 to 30% of the questions in the PMP exam are about hybrid. Well, I can tell you it could be even higher. Okay, uh, even more. All right, good. So now in the Agile guide, the or even in the PMBOK guide, there are many approaches mentioned. Okay, in relation to Agile. So those approaches have been, let's say, ranked by their depth of guidance detail and the breadth of their life cycle coverage. So Scrum remains still one of the simplest agile approaches and frameworks, okay, because actually it's applicable to projects with smaller teams, okay. And until now, until the current version of the PMP exam, 99% of the questions in the PMP exam are about Scrum framework. Yes, 99% of the agile questions, the questions in the PMP exam about agile, they're based on the Scrum framework, and that will continue. That will continue in the new version starting July 9th. Okay, it will continue almost the same. Is just with a small changes, not to the Scrum framework, but to the depth of agile practices. There is integration of couple of practices of agile, and there are a couple of refinements done to the roles, to the way agile being applied, by the project manager and the project team. Okay, so just those couple of changes, not really much, all right, compared to the current version, and the change actually is even more positive, and it made things clearer. Anyway, there are many agile approaches that could be used on smaller projects like Scrum, like feature-driven development, FDD, like Kanban, extreme programming, even though those are purely software approaches. And there are approaches that could be used on larger projects. We call them the scaled approaches, like the Scrum of Scrums. And in the new version of the PMP exam, there are, I think, one or two questions about Scrum of Scrums, large scale Scrum, lean, and safe. Okay, and there is one question about safe. Interesting enough, in the new version of the PMP exam. But again, this is still work in progress, the new PMP exam. And I want you to remember, guys, one thing very important. What we're sharing with you is based on what we currently know. The PMP exam questions are, first of all, work in progress. So they're still being built in this current trial version. And even after July 9, okay, they will not be finalized. The PMI team, who is in charge of writing the PMP exam questions, every month they write new questions. Every month. So they write thousands and thousands of questions in English language, and then a percentage of those questions are translated to French, to German, to Japanese, to Chinese, to Arabic, to Italian, to Portuguese, to Spanish, etc., etc. Okay, and so it's to be still work in progress. So the team is doing a lot of effort, and they're trying to really finalize this as soon as possible. But again, even this year and next year, there will be more and more questions written. So okay, they don't just write questions now in 2026 and they stop. No, there are revisions to the questions, updates to the questions. Some questions will be removed, some questions will be added. So it's absolute normal process. Okay, all right. Now, when we're talking about approaches, mainly the predictive and the adaptive. So, usually in predictive approaches, the scope is fixed, usually, all right? However, there can be some unexpected changes happening that could alter the budget or the schedule. We call these the project's constraints, the triple constraints of the project in an iron triangle, like the typical iron triangle, which we know for since many decades about the three major constraints in a project, in a waterfall project, how they constitute limits to the project and the project management team. So if you change any one of those constraints, it could impact the other constraints. Okay, but usually the scope is fixed because the scope is the determined of the project, the waterfall project. Okay, but usually budget and schedule, they're subject to change, because I will be honest with you, uh, up until 2025, it it was very difficult, um, or it is very difficult worldwide, okay, to finish a project on time and on budget. really, really tough, okay, to find a project manager who can confidently say, yes, I finished my project really on time, on budget, everything went well, went smooth, etc. That would be really surprise. I mean, it's not like it's not like it never happened, but it's kind of rare. But starting 2026, I think, and I said starting. I didn't say in 2026. I said starting 2026. I think, and I want you to remember, guys, this. Maybe it will be proven in the future. Starting 2026, the percentage of waterfall projects finishing on time, on schedule, on budget, and in respect to the scope is going to be higher. Slowly, slowly, it will get higher. Why? Because with the use of artificial intelligence, there will be many, I mean, there will be better ways of how to be in control of the project, how to predict changes before they happen, how to predict or foresee issues before they happen, and all of that will contribute to better management of the budget, the schedule, and meeting the scope. Okay, I think the percentage, if for example, up until 2025, only 4% of the projects worldwide finished on budget and on schedule. I think by 2030 it could be up to maybe 15%, maybe more, maybe higher. I don't know. That's what I expect. Okay, because the evolution in this industry with the artificial intelligence is crazy. We talk about that later in the second part of the session. However, in Agile, we have also this triangle of constraints, but it's inverted. It is inverted, where scope is actually variable because Agile, according to the Agile Manifesto, which I really did not want to cover in this session, is actually the Agile Manifesto is actually based on welcoming changes, and budget and schedule are rather kind of fixed. All right, the schedule is fixed because of the delivery schedule being planned, so it has to be respected. Also, sprints or iterations usually are fixed, and budget also the same because companies, customers, they're scared to have an open budget in an approach like the adaptive approach where scope can be constantly changed. So usually customers tend to fix the budget, and so they can, and they inform the project manager that that budget cannot be exceeded. So then the project team, they will work on the project until they run out of money. All right. Anyway, that is that we explained that more in details in the full training. Okay. Um, we talked about the predictive. It's called predictive or waterfall because actually it like follows the stream of the water from the upper part until the lower part where delivery happens. So waterfall, it's got phases. Okay. Now we know that there are typically 5 phases in the project. But I want many people to understand that you're not limited to five. Five, those are the typical, traditional, are actually the focus areas. Now we call them the focus areas. But when it comes to real planning of your project, you could end up more having more phases, okay? Depending on the life cycle, on the specification, on the process assets of the company, of the organization, on the recommendations of the PMO, on the approach being followed, etc. Okay, but this is a very sample of a very simple predictive life cycle where we can see that we have a feasibility, then the plan, then we start implementing, then we check, and then we hand over the deliverables, and then we close. Okay, so as simple as this. And I go back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the session when I talked about non-disciplinary project management versus disciplinary project management. Actually, even non-disciplinary project management, they follow certain logic. Okay, there is certain logic being followed. The major difference between there are two major differences between non-disciplinary project management and disciplinary, mainly waterfall, is one, the disciplinary, it uses forms and papers and templates, okay, and follows processes. Okay, that's one. And two, the project manager and the disciplinary project management, they know the terms. They have learned the terms. They have gone through training, and they apply the terminologies they have seen in training. Okay, that's the major difference. But still, waterfall remains. Let me say this: many people thought now, and this is a big mistake. And I saw that a lot on LinkedIn. Many people thought waterfall is over. Waterfall is dead. Let me tell you this. Waterfall will never, ever be over or be dead. Ever. It's not possible. Okay? Because there are many projects around us that um, need a waterfall approach. Many projects. So it will never be over. It will never be dead. It will exist maybe for less and less percentage of projects, but it will remain forever. That's my perception. Okay. So it's not true that waterfall is going to be dead by 2030. I heard this. I saw it. No, it will not. So be sure of that. Okay. Here's an example how an agile or an adaptive. Sorry, this is not. Yeah. Yeah, so here's an example of a predictive project with multiple deliveries. We talked about this earlier. So, um, we could have increments delivered, in the life cycle of even a predictive project. So, like we repeat the same steps, and then have an increment until we reach the closure of the project. So, okay. So I mentioned that earlier because it's now part of PMBOK 8. It was not before in the previous versions, even though I remember some practitioners in the project management industry really wanted to see this change, and it happened now. Okay. So you could plan, design, build, have an increment, plan, design, build, have another increment, etc. Okay, this is an incremental development approach. Usually, we know this purely in Agile, but even as I mentioned earlier, we could have predictive projects with multiple deliveries. Okay, which would follow the same logic now, not only in adaptive project management. We will go more in details, in this in the full training. Okay. Um, what does it mean to use adaptive development approach? Um, and why companies or some companies use the adaptive approach? Well, adaptive project management, when it was incepted few decades ago, it was because the inceptors wanted to have more flexible approaches to create and deliver products. Okay. Um, because of the technological advancements the world is experiencing, mainly since the 80s, all right? Because these approaches, the adaptive approaches, they were the experts started talking more and more about them, clearly in the 80s, then towards the 90s, until the Agile Manifesto was released in 2001, right? So it's true that Agile first started in the software industry, but in the PMP exam, we don't focus only on the software. Actually, many PMP exam questions are about agile, but are not about software. They could be about different solutions, different products. Okay, and why is there a need for agile? And I wanted to understand this now out of the context of the PMP exam. Why do we need agile? We need agile because we need a flexible approach that would help us build the solution or build the product, or at least make the researchers make a trial, try to build something, okay, without being limited. limited, okay, without being limited by a fixed scope. Because when we're approached by a customer who, they have a vision, they have an idea, and they want us to turn that idea into a final product, a successful outcome, we will have to go through iterations, okay? And each iteration we try to create an advancement, an enhancement, or try to clarify the idea. All right. So in each iteration, we would repeat basically the same steps. Okay. We make a plan, we build, we test, and then we show, we demonstrate to the customer what we have built for them so we can get feedback. Okay. That feedback will allow us to make some continuous improvement, some deeper, some further researches, further improvements, further enhancements to the idea. Okay. And then we would repeat the same steps based on that um, feedback we got. And we try in each iteration to create the expected value that the customer wants to have. So, since agile or adaptive approaches, they focus a lot on creating what really delivers value to the customer, what gives value to the customer. That's why PMI in the last couple of versions of the PMBOK they decided that also they will focus on the value itself, which we talked about in session three. All right. So through refinement, maybe through user feedback, through learning, adaptive approaches come handy, okay, in order to be able to create the deliveries or give the outcome that the customer or the stakeholders expect to receive. So it is not, so this is probably a strong argument to anyone that adaptive approaches, they're not for software industry only. They could be applied in any industry. But, and here I'm going to open a bracket. But why many companies think it's only for software? Why Agile is only for software? For two reasons. The simplest reason is because it was incepted or it started in the software industry, and that's why they think it's for software. It's like saying that lean, which is continuous improvement, is only for automotive industry just because it started in Toyota. Okay, it's not correct. Okay, it can no, actually lean now is applied in almost all the industries, and the same with agile, because there are many different approaches. Some of them are purely for software, but some of them are could be for any type of industry. Whether it's the project is given a product or given a service, or trying to deliver a result. There are different agile approaches that could fit any type of deliverables and projects. That's the first reason. Second reason, and this is the most important one, and I want you to remember it, guys. Why many people think agile can only be applied on software? I'm going to be honest with you, and I've been saying this since 2015, because some project managers slash product owners don't know, they don't know how to prepare a backlog of needs or of requirements that could be worked on in an incremental way or an iterative way. They don't know. They think that creating a robot, for example, for a customer. So let's imagine a company, which is now our customer. They have certain industrial problems and they ask us to create a robot for them. So those project managers or product owners, because all of their life they know that building such a product, such a solution, it can be done only through predictive approaches. Okay, but actually, it can be done through agile or adaptive approaches, especially if the customer is not 100% sure what that robot could do, for example. So just because it's a robot, it's a physical thing, doesn't mean that it cannot be done with iterative approach. Sorry, with adaptive approach. So those project managers slash product owners, they think that adaptive approaches are actually possible only for software because software is not tangible. You cannot touch it. So actually, you can make changes so easily. It's just a click on a button, erase this, delete this. This is a piece of code. We can adjust however we want. But having a physical product and trying to apply adaptive approach on a physical product, that would be difficult. That's why they think, I mean, difficult from their point of view. And that's why they say, no, it's not possible to apply adaptive approaches on projects that will give us physical solutions or physical products, which is not correct. It's not. Actually, there are different ways. And we have explained this many times. We have shared even examples on different occasions to really explain to uh, learners that we can actually apply different agile approaches on different types of projects that would give us whether physical products or any other types of deliverables. All right. So please remember that. Why am I saying this? Again, not because I want you to answer correctly the questions in the PMP exam, but also because I want you to apply that at work. Let me tell you guys something. PMP aspirants or PMP students who apply what they learn, actually they pass the exam much easier, much quickly, yeah, much easier than other people who only learn theory so they can get the certification. So, for example, this week, one of our students got the PMP certification. Why am I mentioning this guy? Even though this week many people actually, many students got their PMP certification, but this guy in particular, he is applying what he was learning on the projects. So actually, he finished the training with us some time ago, but he did not want to go for the certification first. No, he wanted to apply what he's learned with us for a few months so he could practice exactly as the book says. And then he went for the exam. And, for the exam, he did not need to prepare much. I was reading his message earlier because I asked him, how was it? He told me this, Ahmed, it was really so easy for me. And that's because he was practicing. He practiced what we learned together. Okay. And I did the same. Let me tell you about my experience with PMP 15 years ago almost. Okay. What I did was I had the training, then I was practicing. I mean, I didn't have one training. I had, I think, many training, okay, provided by the company I used to work for before. And then I was practicing for a few years, really practicing. I had a coach who was helping me practice correctly. And then the day when I accumulated the number of years of experience and I submitted my application, at pmi.org and it was accepted, I really did not need time to prepare at all for the exam. I don't even remember if I had any mock exam. If I did any mock exam, probably one mock exam, maybe I don't remember. Because when I took the exam, it was so easy for me because it was exactly as I have practiced. So this is a small tip. You could join the training, then immediately take the exam, or you could join the training, practice for a few months, and then take the exam. Both ways are fine, but one of them is more durable, like it will last for long. Okay? All right. Um, Now, of course, I've already covered this slide by explaining how adaptive approaches they could be used on any types of industries, not just software, not just digital projects. It could be product development, like here's the robot I told you. I talked about earlier. Okay, it could be some design projects where we need to be more adaptive because the design will be done in iterations. It could be product development, like physical product. It will be digital solution, the digital product or digital project, etc. But adaptive approaches could be used in any types of industries, and for sure when there is a project that is, that requires innovation, a lot of feedback for improvement and continuous evolution, your first thought, the first approach you should think of is the adaptive approach. Okay, definitely. If you want to learn more about adaptive approaches, you can go to our website, benhamoudaconsulting.com. We have free uh, courses about Agile with the exam and certification. They're free. We're offering them since we are authorized training partner of Scrum Study. So you can take them from our website and take the exam and get the certification. Now, here's one of my favorite slides. I like this slide a lot. Okay. What is hybrid project management? What are the types of hybrid project management? How to apply hybrid project management? I like this. And I think this is the future. This slide is the present and the future. If you want to be able to adjust your work in any types of projects. And if you want really to be successful in the project, print out this slide and keep it in your office in front of you. It will help you a lot. Okay. In the full training, we have several interesting slides. This is one of them, and usually we tell our students, or we tell them which slides to print and to keep them, in front of them in their office, because those slides will really help them succeed easily in any project. So, what is hybrid project management? It is the mix, or it is using waterfall approaches or waterfall practices, predictive practices, with agile adaptive practices in the same project. So when you use some practices from predictive waterfall and some practices from agile adaptive in the same project, I don't say in the same at the same time, but in the same project, that's called a hybrid project management. So, for example, in a project, you could start the initiation phase following predictive approach. So you apply the initiation phase exactly as in the predictive approach, and then have a full planning phase like in the predictive approach. And then for the execution part, you decide to have iterations, sprints. Okay. Well, using practices from waterfall and then practicing from agile at the same time, that's called hybrid. So you have a predictive development approach followed by an agile release, for example. Okay, that's one of the frequently used types of hybrid project management. It's not the most used, but one of the frequently used. Kind of a little rare, or but still hybrid project management is to have a project where we start with agile approaches, agile practices, sorry, followed by predictive rollout. I give you an example here. I give you an example here. It was used, I think, by one of the teams I was leading before in a construction project. So it was a construction of a new building, and it was a very complex building. So the planning for that construction was not agreed by the stakeholders. So preparing the plan for the building with all the details and all the specialties involved, that required a lot of iterations, a lot of feedback, a lot of changes, a lot of improvements. It took, I think, nearly 6 months. Nearly 6 months to prepare the plan for the building. So that's why we chose to follow the agile approaches for the first part of the project. Okay. And then once the plan was agreed, then the work was carried out in the, following predictive approach. Okay. So there was a predictive rollout because it was a construction project, and construction projects usually follow more the predictive approaches. All right. So I remember that example where we applied the second type of hybrid project management. All right. There is a third type, which is running or utilizing or applying agile practices with waterfall practices at the same time. When would you use that? When in the project you have certain requirements which are clear, okay, and you don't expect changes, or the customer will not ask for changes. For those requirements, you will apply predictive approach. Are certain requirements which are not clear and they require some more clarification and feedback. For that, you will apply agile practices. So these are just an example. One of the examples we can give on how to apply agile and predictive at the same time. Okay. So a project with clear components that would go through predictive lifecycle, and some unclear components that will follow the agile lifecycle, okay, or approach. So that's the third type of hybrid project management and how to use it. Now, the first model I have ever used um, in hybrid project management was this one, the fourth one. Having a full predictive approach or predictive project with a component in which we will develop following an agile approach. So I remember, and I have been giving this example many times in my PMP training uh, classes. All right, it was a construction project, I think in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. We were building a house, let's say, for a rich family. And the project was fully predictive, following the plan, the requirements. But the owners of the house, they wanted certain technology in the kitchen that was new to the construction company. Okay. And it required some iterations. Why we say iterations? So we required some iterations because we were iterating on the solution. So we were trying to understand it better. We created some prototype. We got feedback on that prototype. We confirmed that, yes, that's what they want. Then we improved that prototype. We got further feedback. And then we improved it further and we got further feedback until we managed to build the solution the way the owners wanted it. Okay. So that's why it's a dominantly predictive project, but with agile components or component. Okay, I personally have started with this as the first hybrid project, and it's one of the most used models. This one, so model number four, actually, together with model number one, they're some of the most used hybrid project management models. Now, in our PMP Digital Companion solution, which my team is building, okay, we announced that and we told you we're going to give free access to 100 people from this free training. We will explain that further, towards the end of this free program of March. Okay. Even in that free that digital companion, uh, uh, asked my team to focus, in the hybrid project management part. Okay, because the companion will help you manage your projects. It will not do the work for you. It is not a Primavera style. It is not a Jira style. It's a companion. It will. It is as if you have someone by your side all the time, like an expert or a coach who is following with you on your project and is telling you what you need to do every day, every week. It's something smart, something new we're building. It's work in progress. Okay. It's called PMP Digital Companion. So it helps you succeed in the entire journey from the moment you decide to join project management. Discover what is PMI, what is PMP, maybe what is other certifications like CAPM, etc. To getting the course and that platform. It offers the course as well, practice questions, mock exams. Then to follow a preparation plan, check your readiness, even get the certification, earn PDUs to maintain your certification, update your CV to reflect what you have learned as a project manager, as a PMP certified, and finally, step 7 is the companion itself, who will be with you in each step in your project. So that's the full solution we're trying to build. We've announced that many times. We will come back to you on that soon, as soon as my team makes progress and manages to release the MVP version. So far, it's still just a prototype. We're working on the MVP version, and in the MVP, we will have at least 3 types of project management: one waterfall model, one agile model, and one hybrid model. Okay, so you could use that in different types of projects. And the first, I think, hybrid model we're going to have the companion is actually probably this 4th type. Maybe we're still thinking which one to go with first. Is it the first? Is it the fourth? Because we're trying to see which ones are mostly used. 5th type of hybrid project management is actually a predominantly agile project, okay, with a predictive approach. With a predictive component. We know it's kind of rare. It's kind of rare, okay, but it is there. It exists, okay. And by the way, these are not the only hybrid project management models. No, they are not the only ones. There are actually other types and models of hybrid project management, okay, but uh, we will just see only these 5 types because these are the ones. The PMP exam doesn't ask you, I mean, doesn't put you in particular model of hybrid. It's just mentions that it's a hybrid project, or it mentions some practices from predictive, some practices from adaptive, and you know that since practices from the both major types of project management have been mentioned together at the same time in the project, that means it's hybrid. So it doesn't really put you in any particular model yet. I hope. I don't expect. I hope that starting 2027 or 2028, with the next up with when the team who are writing the questions for the PMP exam will make some changes, some updates. I hope in one of the drag and drop questions or hotspot questions, they will present hybrid models, and on the side some project phases, some practices, and you just pull from here and put on the right model. I hope they will create that. I hope, or at least myself and my team, we will create that for you in some of the mock exams in our digital companion, PMP Digital Companion, to help you practice that. Maybe not for the PMP exam yet, but at least for your real life, because you will see that the hybrid project management are actually very helpful for you, for your projects. Okay. So this is just a snapshot. I think you need this slide. You need it a lot. Print it out, put it in your office in front of you, hang it on the wall. You will need it a lot. Okay. All right. Um, yeah, I think I mentioned already few examples, like a construction project example, where there is, predominantly predictive phases, like a foundation phase, the structuring phase, um, development phase, uh, etc. But then this is the smart lightning solution, which this example is based on that rich Spanish family I talked about earlier. How we mixed both predictive life cycle with an agile component for developing smart solution, for example. Okay, so I already covered that example earlier. Okay, now when considering choosing the development approach, okay, what are the considerations we need to take into account when selecting the development approach? There are considerations related to the organization. Okay, so maybe the organization structure would guide you or would oblige you to select certain type of project management approach because it fits with the organization structure. For example, I have many students who work in public organizations, so state-owned organizations, and they share with us, they share with me their projects or what kind of projects they work on, and uh, um, I they tell me that they know that using a different approach would be much more beneficial, but because it's a public organization, it has to follow that purely waterfall, or even we call the rigid waterfall. Okay, because I told you guys there are many types of project management. For example, there is the rigid waterfall. Okay, there is waterfall, there is rigid waterfall, there are other types of waterfall, um, even though we don't mention them a lot in the PMP training. So it's a total rigid waterfall approach. Okay, and because of the organization structure, it's the only approach they can follow. Sometimes, following a certain approach is influenced by the culture of the team you will work with, or the company where you work, the environment, the organizational capability. Some organizations have limited capability, so therefore you can only apply certain types of or approaches of project management. Okay, you cannot go full-fledged agile, for example. Okay, maybe it's a functional organization. It's got limited capabilities. You cannot really have the luxury of experiencing other approaches of project management. You can only follow the one that's been in-house for decades, for example. All right. Also, the team size or the team location. There are many factors coming from the organization that could influence what type of project management you could select for your project. There are also specifications or considerations, sorry, related to the project specifications, like what the stakeholders want. I mentioned that earlier. If the stakeholders ask for frequent deliveries, you will have to go with agile. Unless if you go with waterfall with multiple deliveries, that's another thing, another the way. Schedule constraints. Okay. And again, in case you have to make more frequent deliveries and there are more changes, then you go with agile and one of the agile approaches. In case of financing uncertainty, okay, so here maybe you will have to fix the scope, secure the budget because there are some financing uncertainty, and therefore we might want to go with basic waterfall, for example. The size of the project and the complexity itself, how many components, how many teams involved, the involvement of the stakeholders, etc. What the team knows. Sometimes, it's easier to follow an approach that the team is used to rather than try to teach them a new approach. I know in adaptive project management, in agile project management, there are many ways how to be adaptive. So if you, I have gone through that. I remember some time back, maybe a decade back. I was working in a company where teams were used to two or three agile approaches, and for them, they didn't were not so open to trying a new agile approaches, even though there might have been some other agile approaches that could be better fit for their project. But that change was kind of scary for them, or they were reluctant, they were pushing back on the change, and they wanted to continue with the approach they know. So that's another reason, to choose for the project, to choose the project management approach for the project. okay? Or in case there are any interdependencies between, for example, departments, projects, etc. So, for example, if you're working on a project that is part of a larger program, and each of the other projects they are delivering a component that your project deliverables will be mixed with or integrated with, then you might want to follow the same approach, development approach, because it will make it easier for integration, for example. Okay, so that's just an example. And there are considerations maybe related to deliverables. Okay, how much innovation will there be in the project? The more innovation, the more research, the more agility. How about requirements certainty? The clearer the scope and the requirements, the more we lean towards predictive, and the less certainty we lean more towards agility. Okay, um, we mentioned the scope. How easy the change? Um, Now, the more experience you have as a project manager, the more you will know whenever you're assigned to a project whether there will be many changes in this project or not. So more changes, and if you want flexibility in welcoming those changes, go with Agile. If there will be less changes, or the company or the sponsor or whoever is involved in the project, they're less willing to accept changes, go with waterfall. Delivery options, we mentioned that, okay, and we will see that again. Risk, uncertainty, the higher the uncertainty in a project, the more we go with agility. At least we can adjust quickly and adapt quickly, okay. Safety requirements, in case any specific safety requirements are there in a project, okay. If there are strict safety rules, we might want to go with predictive, and plan for that safety and the necessary precautions to take, or necessary uh, work to complete on safety level. So we go more with predictive. If we need more feedback, we go with more agile, more adaptive regulations. The more regulations they are, the more we go with predictive. Now, I don't mean when there are many regulations, we cannot go with agile. No, actually not. Actually, in the PMP exam, the current version or even the new version, there is one question about complying with regulations in a waterfall project, and one question about complying with the regulations in an adaptive project. Okay, because you need to experience both. How to respect or comply with the regulations in both types of project management. Okay, so actually regulations, it depends on what kind of regulations we're talking about here. So you have to know the specifics of that before deciding. Okay, all right. Now another very very important slide, which is the delivery cadence in a project. So a project with a single delivery, let me tell you now, it's becoming more and more rare. Please, can you write it down, guys? Can you write it down on a piece of paper? Yes, having a project with a single delivery is becoming more and more rare. Of course, now this slide is raw. I'm sharing it raw and this free training, but in the full training, this slide is different. It's got more details, more insights. But in this free training, I only brought the raw content just to make things easier for you. So really, it's more and more rare to have a project with a single delivery. Even in the PMP exam, less questions are focusing on projects with single delivery, and more questions are focusing on projects with multiple deliveries. Multiple deliveries is the new normal. Write it down, please. Share it in your summary tomorrow on LinkedIn. Share your summary tomorrow of the 4 sessions. What did you learn in each of the 4 sessions? Now, multiple project with multiple deliveries is the new normal. Is the most recommended delivery cadence. Okay, already since a couple of years, and that's enhanced in 2026. Okay. Also, we can have projects with periodic deliveries, like, after, for example, every month. So monthly deliveries, keeping the same pace. This is mostly in adaptive projects. It can be in any type of projects, to be honest, but mostly in adaptive. And of course, we can have also projects with continuous delivery, like, whenever an item is finished, is delivered. Whenever a deliverable is finished, it's delivered, handed over to the customer. That's more in adaptive full agile project management. So less single delivery, more multiple. We could have periodic, but in full agile, we can have continuous delivery. Okay, these are mainly the four types of delivery cadences. All right, good. Now, this slide is another important slide, which I try to cover quickly in this session so I can move on to artificial intelligence in project management. This slide covers it all: the project life cycle with all the focus areas. So you see, for example, I tell you a small note. I give you a small note. You see, we still have 4 months to go in the current version of the PMP exam with PMBOK 6 and 7. And in the current version, we say knowledge area, and we say process group. Okay, but since I'm teaching this course based on PMBOK 8, I have to start using the right terms: focus area, performance domain, 40 processes, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and you do the same, guys. Whether you know PMBOK 7 and 6, whether you don't know PMBOK 6 and 7, whether you know only PMBOK 8, whether you are already PMP certified, or you're new to project management. It's always good to use the latest terminologies and practices. Okay, so here, this full project management cycle, it presents the life cycle of the project, the pre-project work, and the post-project work. So here you have the full picture. So pre-project work here, uh, the project manager is not the project manager is not involved here. Generally, he or she is not involved. Is not. Usually, pre-project work that is being done by the specialized team, by a specialized team, where they, create a feasibility study, conduct a feasibility study, create a business case, prepare a benefits management plan, etc. Now, once the business case is approved, then the project can start. It will be assigned to a sponsor. The sponsor will assign uh, project manager, and the project manager is assigned here, and they will start following the different processes for each of the focus areas: the initiation, the planning, the implementation, the monitoring, controlling, and the closing, or execution. And here, execution or implementation, almost the same. Okay, so that's the project life cycle. And this life cycle, it could be either waterfall, as we see here, or it could be even agile, because many project management students, they don't know that for agile projects there is a pre-project work as well. There is a business case. Yes, many PMP students don't know this, because they actually had an agile training before, and in that training they did not see the business case mentioned. But personally, when I learned Agile Scrum maybe 12, 13 years ago, actually I learned it according to the approach presented by Scrum Study. It's almost the same approach everywhere in the world, but Scrum Study as an organism is the only organism at that time. I don't know now about the other organisms, because there are tens of them. It was the only organism which uh, talks about the business case as a pre-project work, which fits with the PMP exam mindset. Okay, so in the initiation, the project manager is assigned. Of course, the project manager will work on the project charter, among other things. Then there will be the planning focus area or phase where the plans are created. Then the implementation where the work is conducted, deliverables are created, team works on that. Okay, monitoring and controlling phase, or it's not really phase. The only one I cannot call phase is monitoring and controlling. I can say initiation phase is fine, planning phase is fine, implementation phase is fine, closing phase is fine, except for monitoring and controlling. It is not a phase. It is an um, uh, ongoing practice or ongoing process. Monitoring and controlling is an ongoing process from beginning till end almost. So it's the only one we cannot call really phase. Okay. Uh, and because it makes sure that implementation goes exactly as the plan. And in case there are any deviations or any mismatching between implementation and plans, monitoring controlling will suggest taking proper action like corrective action, preventive action, defect repair, change request, etc. Okay, until we reach the closing part of the project, the administrative closure, documenting lessons learned, disbanding the team, and transitioning the deliverables to the customer. And in some types of projects, there will be a post-project work, like handing over the product to the operations, so the product could be produced in series, or maybe handing over the deliverables to maintenance. Like for example, we created a website for a client, and now we hand it over to maintenance in case something goes wrong with the website. Then the team could take corrective action, etc., or could maintain it. So this is just a full project management cycle or life cycle, just for you in case you need such a slide. By the way, PMI presented a few functions associated with projects and the project manager in particular. Like the project managers, some of the project managers' functions are soliciting and managing feedback from the users or the stakeholders, facilitating and supporting the teams, the stakeholders to make the project successful. Applying expertise. That's another function the project manager needs, to perform. Performing work, making sure the work is being performed. Providing direction and insight, providing resources and oversight and coordination, etc. So these are different project functions. I just want to mention them briefly in this free course. We will see them in full details in the full training. So now we just finished the first part of this session about the developed approaches. Again, I could not go deeper. I could not. I could not go deeper because I reserved for it 1 hour and 15 minutes. Because for the next 1 hour or 1 hour and so, I want to talk about AI. Many people are interested in this topic. Why? Many people are interested in AI in project management because it's fashionable, it's trendy, but many people really want to learn how they can make their lives easier. Okay, what tools could help them? Let me tell you this. I want to tell you a secret, guys, but promise me you're gonna keep it as a secret. When my team and I were brainstorming on the PMP Digital Companion, and in the PMP Digital Companion, I can even show you if you want. I can show you. Uh, where is that? We go here. Okay, if you go to pmp.benhamadaconsulting.com, you see this is the prototype we wanted to share with you, or we shared with you, and it's work in progress. We want to finish the MVP as soon as possible. We told you about this company. We told you, step one is learning all about PMP. Step two, the course, the models, the mock exams. Uh, I think it will be updated very soon. Then the preparation plan to follow for 3 weeks. It's a very good plan. People are following this, and passing successfully, then measuring your readiness for the exam through 50 questions. Very, very good one. Then once you get your PMP, how to earn PDUs, actually, okay? How to earn PDUs. And then building your CV in the app. This is coming soon, okay? Because now you're PMP certified, you need to have your CV created according to the PMP model. And here's the step 7, the most interesting one, which is this companion will help you manage your project effectively. Now, even now, when my team and I are brainstorming on this step seven, which is managing the project, the companion to manage your project. Uh, I I told my team the following: Look, I want the companion to help people as much as possible with their projects, but not taking over the role of the project manager. It will not think instead of you. It will not do the work instead of you. It will be as if you have someone right by your side to help you succeed in the project. I think, guys, you're gonna like what we're going to build for you. Because, look, I've been a project manager for almost 20 years of my life. And um, one of the questions that's been repeated a lot in the past few months, maybe few years, is the following. Is AI going to replace the project manager? Well, that is not the purpose of integrating AI in project management, whether by us, the practitioners or slash the professionals, whether by PMI, whether by PMI. Actually, even if you go to the PMBOK, look, here's the PMBOK. I have it open on the AI appendix on purpose. See, appendix 3 in the PMBOK 8. This is PMBOK 8. You can download it. Sorry, you can download it from PMI if you are a member. Okay. Um, it is secured by password. Many people ask me to share this PMBOK 8 with them. I can send it to anyone on earth right now, but no one will be able to open it. It's secured by password generated by PMI. And even if I would give you my password, it will not open for you. I tried that with a colleague of mine. It didn't work. Okay, I mean, it doesn't mean there are no cracked versions. They are, but anyway. So, Appendix 3 in the PMBOK 8 is about artificial intelligence. Where can you find Appendix 3? It's so easy. You go to PMBOK guide once you download it. Okay, table of content. You go to table of content. Table of content. First part is the standard. Then you have here the guide itself. The standard is the shorter part, the part which is approved by ANSI, then the guide, and then here the guide. You see the guide. Let me go through the guide, maybe quickly through the table of content. Some people don't know it. Standard for project management. You have an introduction here, some key terms, some foundational elements like characteristics of a project, operations and project management, blah, blah, blah. Then system for value delivery. This is so important, how to create value, the project environment, etc., etc. Then the principles, which we already covered, of course, overall, like, just generally. All right, the 6 principles, and then the life cycle phases, or the life cycles. All right. And then here, of course, you have the most important part, which is the guide, the introduction of the performance domains, the 7 performance domains. Okay, the governance, the scope, schedule, the finance, the stakeholders, the resources, the risk, and then tailored considerations. And then you have inputs, outputs, the summary from those tables, the same for tools and techniques. We cover that in the full training. And then here you have appendices. Appendix 1, the contributors and the reviewers. Thank you, everyone who helped or who contributed to this book. Then Appendix 2, the PMO, Appendix 3, AI. Appendix 4, procurement. Appendix 5, the evolution of PMBOK guide. Yeah. Now here what we want is Appendix 3, artificial intelligence. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in. So here it gives you some context. Um, this is what's in the PMBOK because some people thought or were asking in the PMP exam new version, are they going to ask us theoretical questions about AI? No, not really. No. One drag and drop question about this slide. We have it in the presentation. One drag and drop, maybe one drag and drop about this. Okay, of course, it will be a little different, but about this. No theoretical questions. It is not going to ask you about particular AI tools like what we have prepared for you in the presentation. In the presentation, we have prepared for you some AI tools and some prompts. Um, yes, we have. Okay, we will come to that in a while. Okay, let me stay here. In the PMP exam, is there going to be a question about the prompt? Yes, I think one drag and drop question, or it's called matching question about prompts. Yes, there will be. It will give you, I think, four prompts and then the function. Okay, and you have to link the prompt with the function. That will be, yes, a drag. Anyway, even if you will not see it in 2026 in the PMP exam version 8, with the new version, you will see it in our simulator because we work on that. Okay. Um, what other questions? The other questions about artificial intelligence in the PMP exam starting July are, I think, two questions, two or three questions. Okay, mostly related to the applicability or usability of AI. Okay, it puts you in a scenario where the project manager actually is kind of lost. The project manager cannot take uh, how is uh, informed cannot take informed decisions like decisions based on data. So then one of the solutions will be AI, to use AI. And of course, the scenario would be a little more interesting to be told by the question. Okay. So those are the cases which you will see about AI in the PMP exam. So here uh, it starts, by explaining that AI describes set of technologies that simulate human behavior on computers to perform tasks that were not directly programmed to. Then, it talks a little bit about ethics of AI, common classification of AI systems, like AI, this is the broader term to describe the systems that can reason, learn, and act autonomously. ML, which is machine learning, this is a subfield of AI that uses data to train neural network models, which can predict outputs based on previous inputs. There is DL, deep learning. This is more advanced machine learning. It relies on multi-layered neural networks to extract features and make decisions. There is the generative AI, we call the Gen AI. This is again a subset of deep learning that applies large language models, LLMs. Okay, to create systems capable of generating new data such as text, speech, audio, pictures, videos, many other. Okay, exactly. And then we have finally the GPTs, which we're using, I think, all of us. And then here's some strategies. We're going to talk about that in the presentation. Probably is better presented. Then what is the current state of the market? Currently, there are many AI tools, some free, some paid, available for public use. And we will go with you in the infinity. I will show you later the infinity AI of PMI. Okay. Free options are restricted. Paid ones, they allow the user to have better trained models, more advanced capabilities. And here are some common use cases, and how to be responsible and ethical in using AI. Now, let me tell you this. PMI is not against using AI to enhance various aspects of project management, such as planning, controlling, stakeholder engagement, risk management, strategic decision making, etc. But PMI is 100% against using AI to cheat. For example, present data to the customer which are not correct. Or I can give you another example fake um, mock screens. For example, we're creating, the customer asked us to create a mobile app for their business. So now let's say our team did not make good progress on that mobile app, and we will have a meeting with the customer. So the customer was expecting to see the app, but what we decide to do, we decide to create some mock screens to show to the customer, to make the customer think that we actually have the presentation. Well, that's something PMI is against. Yeah. So, or maybe to cheat, on some data or to fake some data, etc. So we have to be careful with using AI. We have to use it responsibly, ethically, transparently. And let me tell you this, PMI intends in no way to make AI take over some of the project manager's work. No, it can be supportive. It can, make some decisions more informed, etc. But we should not. And here's some use cases about the primary AI use cases in project management. Uh, and here are like the performance domain, like the governance. What is the AI strategy and the use case. I will not go through this. I'm not here to read the PMBOK. Uh, and here are some suggested resources. Of course, I will show you later the PMI Infinity. This is PMI's AI tool for project professionals. You can get it on infinity.pmi.org. Okay, so we will see it later here. So we go to, sorry, infinity.pmi.org. And see, it knows me. It knows I am Ahmed because I am a member of PMI, so it knows me. It knows what we talked about before. Here you can use it, and you can ask anything about project management. You can attach documents, or you can use the agents. Okay, it provides agents. We will talk about that later. We can have also here a prompt library. Interesting. I think interesting. It's work in progress. I think it can be better. Can be better. It will be improved by PMI. We will come back to that later. Okay. So this was the AI part, the AI part in the PMBOK, and here, of course, PMI has got its its AI courses and certifications. So you can, some are free, some are paid. So you can try that if you want. You can check that on PMI's website. Now let's go back to our presentation. Let's really deep dive into AI. And let me tell you this. I'm going to try to share with you my point of view on AI in project management, which I think it fits with the way PMI views AI for now. Um, I think all of us remember November 2022 when ChatGPT 3.0 was officially released before quickly being upgraded to 3.5. Now, let me tell you this, AI is not new. In 2011, when I was still working at IBM, I was part of not research. I was part of we call the exploration team, where we were working on the AI this, I wouldn't say it's not model, but AI solution that IBM was developing, and actually it was being used. It's called Watson at the time. I think it still exists. I don't know. So I was lucky to be invited by this Romanian uh, colleague of mine who was part of this team in America where we were, they were developing the Watson solution, and it became so famous in 2016, 2015 Watson because it was used in various fields, like in legal, and it even beated the model beated real lawyers in certain cases at the court. So I was lucky to be in 2011 part for a short period. I think it was for 3 months or a little longer. I was part of a team that was exploring AI. So it's not something new, AI, to be honest. It's just it became famous starting in November 2022 because OpenAI, the company, they launched publicly their models, their GPT. They call it the Chat GPT. Now it's 5.2, I think. I don't know exactly. I think it's 5.2 now, the latest version. Okay, and then since then, more AI GPTs and models have been, entering the market. It's not like they're created overnight. Some of those models actually have been work in progress since many years, since 2019, 2018, 2017, 2020. And now I think there are so many models and GPTs that sometimes we are lost. We don't even know which one fits our need, which one to use, etc. My view on this is that AI is not going to replace project managers. Am I being honest 100% when I say this? I am being honest for the next 10 years. And I'm being honest for longer if I would touch on the human side of project management. Let me explain these 2 points. Is AI going to replace project managers? Replace, like 100% replace, not possible in the next 10 years. It can do a lot. It's growing so fast. It can be AI can be so accurate. But what is AI? Actually, this picture can tell a lot. AI is a software, if I would say it this way, is an interface or a software on a computer. Can it walk through corridors? Can it walk from one room to another? Can it make a site walkthrough to conduct a visit to a customer or make an audit? No, not yet. Is it possible? Yes. Because they could create robots in shape of a human, integrate AI in it, and it can do what we do. Is it available now? Not yet. In the next 10 years, maybe. So is it going to replace us now? No. So that's the first part, first point. Second point, even if this will be real, the thing on the left, the thing on the left, even if it will be real, even there are things AI can never do, can never do. Okay? Imagine you are a project manager in a room with 20 stakeholders, 20 stakeholders, and all of you are discussing an important subject in the project, a decisive subject, whether we will continue with the project or not, whether we will take this solution or that solution, whether we will do this or that. And there are different reactions on the faces of the participants. And the participants come from 20 different countries. And the participants have different backgrounds and different ways of expressing their needs and their emotions, etc. Can AI be as a smart sensing and feeling as a human to be able to read their faces, understand what each person's means, wants, prefers? No. Even if it will be trained for many, many years, AI cannot sense and feel like a human being can do. So these are some of the simplest things AI cannot do. So this picture for me as a project management practitioner, it means that together, me and AI, we can do better in a project. Alone, as we've been doing so far until 2024, 2025, it's fine, even though it could be better if we had some help, but not outsourcing of my tasks, of my work to the AI, to the computer, or to the robot, whatever AI's form and shape will be the future, whether it will sit on it will be sitting only on the computer all the time, or it will be part of a robot, like what China is building now. In both cases, I think I need help. I will need help. I can use some help, but doesn't mean that I will let you think of me. I will let it think of instead of me, or take my job role. Okay. So AI can help us make some power decisions, informed decisions. Why? Because AI can very quickly, within a blink of an eye, analyze vast amounts of data, or extract data, or make researches so quickly. And I think we all are using that now. Um, until 2020, early 2025, people were using more the browser to search than AI. Now, starting 2026, people are searching more into AI than into browsers. That's why, for example, if you go right now to Google on your phone or on your computer, okay, um, and you search for anything. For example, how to make yogurt. For example, yogurt. How to make yogurt. Now, when I click in Google how to make yogurt, the first thing appears in front of me as a result is AI overview automatically. So it automatically gives me an answer generated by AI. Why did Google, integrate that into their search engine? Because they figured that people found out that searching through AI is much more accurate, helpful, straight to the point than the traditional searching, for example. All right. AI can provide actionable insights, recommendations, data-based, uh, can help us analyze situations, predict the risks, automate several tasks, etc. Okay. Um, but again, I repeat, AI will not replace the project manager, who might be called in the future the project leader. I think the term project leader will be used more than the project manager in the next few years. I think. Okay. Uh, so the project manager is a strategist, is a change leader. The project manager is the one who understands the most the culture of the company, the profiles of the team members. You know why? Because you could feed AI with data about potential of each resource you have on your project, each team member, their potential, their capabilities, their background, their availability, their speed. Even you could try to feed AI with data about your team members related to their personality test. Like, for example, if you conducted an MBTI test with a team member, etc. I tried that. Let me be honest with you. I tried that. I tried to share with AI on purpose. Let me be honest, on purpose. So I shared with AI data about personality types of each one of my team members. And I asked AI, okay, can you tell me today what can I do with, let's say, Amira? Well, I don't have a person in my team called Amira, so I'm making up names. With Amira, how can I behave with her today based on what you know about Amira, what I told you about Amira? Let me be honest. 97% of what AI suggested to me to talk about with Amira, how to behave with Amira, how to do the work with Amira. 97% was wrong. 97% was wrong. Why? Because AI based its answer or on what I have told it about Amira. AI did not know that Amira today has changed, is in a different mood, or has got a different attitude, or simply is experiencing different emotions. AI does not see Amira. Okay. So as a project manager, I can, generally now speaking, okay, I can interpret AI insights to make informed decisions, to drive the value, to maybe better plan for the resources. But there are many, many tasks that only me can do as a project leader or project manager, and AI can only be a support for me. Okay. So we talked about the different acronyms here and what they mean. We saw that in the PMBOK 8 earlier. Um, we saw also this one earlier. We saw it in the PMBOK as well. So let me jump straight to how to use AI in project management. And I think we have a very interesting tables later to show you with some prompts, some prompts to put in AI, which exact AI to use, etc. So I want to advise you guys, all of you who are present in this session, don't try to outsource the entire project to AI. I know that you can create agents. Some agents will create the project charter for you, the business case, maybe the WBS, the Gantt chart, the risk register, the etc. Yes, it can do a lot of that. However, you might enjoy doing that in the first project. You might get used to it in the second project, but starting third project, it becomes an addiction. And from the sixth project and seventh project onward, you would be hopeless without AI. This happened to us. For those of you who know me on LinkedIn, this happened to us 2 years ago when many people started writing their the content of their LinkedIn post using AI. I was scared to death. Really, I'm being honest. In 2024, when it became so popular to use AI, for writing posts, I think I'm one of 12%. I am one of 12% of people who refuse totally to use AI to write their posts. Why? Because I was scared that at the first period, I'm gonna like it, then enjoy it, then become addicted to it, then start losing my skills, and then finally I end up not capable of doing anything without it. And the same in project management. AI can help us with scheduling the tasks. Maybe it can make suggestions. Which resources are available when to handle which tasks based on their profiles and backgrounds. Yes, that can help us with resource allocation. That can even help us with tracking the resource allocation and utilization. Some tasks which are repetitive could be automated. I would enjoy AI helping me not drafting, yeah, drafting meeting minutes, maybe taking notes in a meeting. For example, let me show you. I think we all have the Copilot, if I'm not mistaken, right? No, not here. Where is my Copilot? Where did it go? Where are you hiding, Copilot? Is it this one? No, no. Okay, anyway, I think Pilot. Where is my co-pilot? Yeah, yeah. We have co-pilot. I think all of us have Copilot on if you have Windows, okay? Or maybe you have, see, here's Copilot. Or maybe you have, if you have a MacBook, you have Apple's AI. I don't know, it's called Siri or how is it called? I don't really know. Where's Copilot? Yeah, somewhere. I don't know where it's hiding. Anyway, so Copilot is one of the famous tools actually that can help you take notes in a meeting automatically. So you run it, you go into a meeting with your customer, with your sponsor. Copilot will listen, will write down the notes, will analyze. It will analyze for you. It will organize the points discussed, and it will categorize them. This is a decision. This is a risk. This is a change request. This is an action, etc., etc. It can do that. Yes, it can say because you know why? And it's not that's not outsourcing my work to AI, because myself since 2010, since 2010, when I started being assigned to larger projects, I could not manage the project by myself. So I needed to have a project management team with me. So one of my colleagues, who is a project coordinator, was joining me in meetings. She was taking notes, organizing the notes, uh, categorizing them, preparing the minutes, and then getting my approval on the minutes before sending them out. So now, instead of having a person in my project management team who would get paid to doing that, I can have AI, whether it's for free, whether it costs me 10 euros or 20 euros a month. Maybe it's much easier to have AI person doing that now. Maybe. Okay. Um, but so I don't mind doing that. It can assist me in brainstorming, but here I'm not so okay with that. So AI assisted me in brainstorming. I'd rather experience that by myself. Unless if it, I use just as a reminder. For example, I share my agenda with AI. I tell AI, okay, with these stakeholders, I want to talk about these 7 topics brainstorm with them. So now, and I tell AI that I have 1.5 hours to do that with them. So when already 1 hour passed and I have brainstormed only on 3 topics, so AI here can act as a support and can remind me that I still have only 30 minutes left, 4 topics to brainstorm on, and it can make me a recommendation. How can I still brainstorm on those 4 topics in the allotted time? What would be the best strategy? That's fine. But brainstorming in a sense that um, thinking instead of me, no. Helping me find ideas, maybe yes, maybe yes. Even though when AI finds me an idea, I usually tend to ask it, how did you find it? Well, usually it explains by itself. But if it didn't explain, I would ask it, how did you do it? Because, and this is probably what I wanted to remember forever when using AI. If you decided that AI will really do a lot of your work, fine. But all the time ask it, how did you do it? How? How? Think of it as if you're being in a course. You're learning from the teacher or from the trainer or from the expert. They would give you an information, but you would ask them, how did you find this? How did you create this? How did you do it? So you need to learn from AI how to do it. Why? Because in case you ever find yourself alone without AI, you wouldn't be stuck. You should be able to do the work. So always ask AI how. If it gives you an idea, how did you think about it? How did you find it? How did you do it? Okay? Of course, if possible. Something I enjoy about AI, to be honest, it helps us optimize the schedule. We will see maybe later on Infinity website. Yeah, optimizing the schedule. It can help you figure out which tasks are delayed, which tasks are on critical path. Maybe how to fast track the schedule. How to get back on track. How to where to be able to reassign resources. Yeah, it can make suggestions. It's really good with that. Okay. Uh, that's good. That's fine for AI. But again, I repeat, even though one of you guys, one of you in this session wrote me right now, Ahmed, there are companies which are creating scary models that would do everything you said is impossible for AI to do. Yes, we know about that. We know since many years, but we know that certain things it would take them ages and probably it will not uh, it will not be able to do them, at least not as perfectly as the human. Plus, let me tell you this. Let me remind you of this. Many stakeholders, many stakeholders prefer to interact with the humans rather than machines. Okay. I have a colleague of mine. You probably know him, guys. I've cooperated with him. Daniel, his name is Daniel, on the podcast series last year. He's so interested in exploring and developing the human-centered leadership in project management. And many people also are focusing on that because for them, if AI would be able to do these technical tasks, at least they will not be able to, do any leadership. Even though, again, I repeat, there are many companies which are training AI models to be leaders, but that takes time and it might not be as perfect because, yes, maybe AI one day can read faces and can understand a cultural gesture. When you nod with your head, nodding depends on where you're coming from. If you're German, nodding might mean something different to if you're Indian or to if you're Brazilian or American. It could mean, or half closing your eyes. For someone coming from France, might not mean the same thing for someone coming from Italy, for example, even though they're neighbors, or someone coming from South Africa. So yes, it could be trained on understanding different cultures, different facial gestures, terms, etc. But there are things that only human can have. Uh, Let me give you an example, not related to project management. Not related, no. Imagine you've been working in a company for 10 years and you have this colleague who has been also working with you for 10 years in the same department or the same company, and you guys are so close, so good friends outside of the work, uh, and you know each other very well, understand each other very well. Now, your colleague, now, today at 8 in the morning, you're in the office, and usually your colleague comes at 8, but she came at 9:30, which is weird because she's not usually late. Now you see her coming, but then the moment you look at her, even though she's smiling, she's walking as usual, but you knew something is wrong with her. How did you know that? I would ask you this. How did you know that something is wrong with your colleague? Do you know what would you answer me? I don't know. I don't know how I knew that. But because we've been for long together as colleagues and friends outside of work, I somehow felt it, sensed it. And this is what AI cannot do and will never be able to do. Okay? So whether it's your colleague or whether it's a sponsor you've been working with for a long time, for example, I've had this sponsor, he's a Czech guy. His name is Lukasz. He was my sponsor. He was my sponsor on several projects, on and off, for 6 years. And we started understanding each other quite well. That when I am in a meeting with Lukash, from the way he sits, just from the way he sits, or from the way he enters the room, I know if he's angry with me, if he's pleased with me, if he's got doubts about the project, if he's going to object something I said, if he's going to support something I said, if he's going to approve my request, if he's going to reject my request, I know it. I arrived to the point, arrived to a point that I could understand Lukash from the way he enters the room, or the way he sits, or even from the way he starts clearing his throat to say something if we're on a conference. Yes, because we were working with each other for long. So can AI know that? Maybe. There are crazy models, scary models. Yes, maybe, but anyway. So AI can help us. Again, I mentioned this. Prioritize our tasks more efficiently. Yes. In order to be better in control of our schedule. Yes. It can give us exact cost estimates, exact estimates on the expenses. Yes, it will help. It can help us control the costs. That's right. Optimize resource allocation. That's one of the project manager's dreams. We've been trying to do this since forever. Have we ever had a project where resource allocation was 100% optimized? Really rare. Can AI help us increase the percentage of projects where resource allocation is 100% optimized or is better optimized? Oh, yes. That's something we want so much from AI. Alerting, early warning. Okay? Absolutely, yes. We want that because sometimes we forget. How many project managers really check every morning, noon, and afternoon their issue log and risk register? How many? Less than 10%. Actually, the percentage is much less. I'm just being supportive here. Less than 10% of project managers open the risk register and issue log in the morning, in the noon, in the afternoon. Yeah, the real percentage, much less than that. Can AI be with us there to remind us? Yes, we want that. Modeling is important. It can save us time so we can explore the outcomes of different scenarios. Like, for example, the what if analysis. When we conduct what if analysis, whether in risk management or in other performance domains, we used to do it manually with our team, the what if analysis. Do we need AI to do it properly or better? Oh, yes, please. It can give us better results. Of course, in case it is fed with proper and good data. Okay? Can it help us select a better or more suitable development approach? Yes. Um, can it help us with instant translations? We wish that. Let me tell you guys, 99% of the projects I worked on are international. So usually we were 5 to 20 or even more nationalities on the project. Some of us spoke good English. Some of us they were less proficient in English. Some of us spoke with a strong accent or dialect, like if it's German dialect or French or Italian or Arabic or Indian you know, and some of us did not speak English at all. I remember many projects were stuck because some of the key stakeholders or key project team members did not speak English. So imagine if we had instant translating tools in a earplug, and each one of us would speak the language they feel comfortable with, but the other person would hear. Like for example, imagine I'm in a project with a French person. They don't speak English, but they have the earplug with AI integrated software to. I would speak in English. The earplug would translate everything immediately to French. They wouldn't even hear me speak in English. They would reply in French. And let's suppose I don't speak French. and I would immediately get it back in English. That would make our life much easier. So I wouldn't cancel that project. I had once a project canceled. I don't remember the country. I think it's Austria or one European country because the sponsor and major stakeholders did not speak English, or they were afraid of speaking English. Okay. So now probably with AI, we don't have to worry about that. Okay. I would love AI to generate status reports with just a click. Now, let me tell you, let me be honest with you. I teach earned value analysis. I teach that in PMP course. All PMP trainers teach that. Most of the PMP trainers teach that based on theory. I think 90% or even more of the PMP trainers never ever calculated earned value in a real project. I think so. They just learn that and teach that without really practicing that. Now, I had to calculate earned value on most of my projects. And let me tell you, calculating earned value, sometimes it took 2 to 3 days, sometimes even longer. So I could get accurate data, correct data, reliable data. Reliable results, correct results. Now, would I ever hoped, for a solution that with just a click on a button, I would get the exact earned value analysis with cost performance index, schedule performance index, to complete performance index, estimate at complete. Oh yeah, of course. I wish, I want that so much. Okay, so maybe now AI can do it. But if AI would do it, would that mean that I have outsourced my task to AI? Uh, I would more think of it, I used automation. I would think of it that way rather than outsourced my own effort to AI. Okay? Can AI help me with predictions? Yes, I want that so much. So, how is AI evolving? When can we use automation? When would we need some assistance? And when would we be the ones responsible? Okay. Um, Now, more of a machine, more of an automation, mainly in reporting, process automation, some real-time monitoring, some basic or simple task management. I'm fine if machine would do it. More of an assistance, like I would do the work, but AI is assisting me with planning, analyzing risks, scheduling, conflict resolution, absolutely. I would rather need some assistance, but not automation. However, in which tasks would I be human? Brainstorming. I talked about this earlier. Idea generation. I want that to stay with me. Yes, I can recommend ideas, but I wouldn't rely on it solely. Risk identification. It can help AI, but I would rather keep that, to myself. At least I would be leading the bigger part. Stakeholder sentiment analysis. See this? By the way, this slide here, it exists here in the PMBOK, but just in different form. Here it is. Stakeholder sentiment analysis, risk identification assessment, brainstorming, idea generation. You see, PMI says that they want this to be more with the humans, okay, because it's more complex, it's on a higher complexity. See, PMI presented it this way. My team and I presented it another way. Okay. Both are fine. Both can help you understand. We like colors. We like colors. That's why. And we think colors will be more memorable, for you. That's why, we tried sometimes to change the shape, make some colors, but content is almost the same. Okay. So, yes, see, stakeholder sentiment analysis, that's more human. Brainstorming, idea generation, more with us, the humans, rather than depending on AI to do it. Because if we do it for a few months, several years, we would lose our skill of generating ideas. I'm sorry, I'm going to get out of the topic now. I'm sorry for that. I've watched a movie. I think the movie was released 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's a cartoon movie, but it talks about this. I forgot the name of the movie, really. I forgot the name totally, but I will describe one scene from the movie. And if one of you remember knows the name of the movie, please write it down in the chat, in the comments. The movie talks about the future, maybe 2035, maybe, where humans have become so much dependent on machines that machines could do everything for them, like harvesting the food, preparing the food, catching fish from the sea. The humans did not need to work at all. Humans were only eating and sleeping. Really, that's what the humans were doing 90% of the time. They were sitting in a machine, humans, like a spaceship or something like that, or a machine. It would take them on trips. They would eat, sleep. They did not need to work. They did not need to earn money because machine and AI was doing everything for them. And at certain point, those humans were getting weight, more and more weight, fat. They could barely move, and a human wouldn't even want to move out of the bed because machine was doing everything for them, like the toilet part, the shower part, the eating, they were just laying on the bed all the time. And then humans after that could barely reproduce, have babies. Okay, so why did I mention this out of the topic? Point, because technology is a side-bladed sword. You know, on one hand, it's necessary in our life. Like, look at this course. We're seated in tens of countries, tens of cities, and yet we're all gathered in one location. You can hear me, you can follow with me, we can follow with your comments and interactions. We're living in this virtual metaverse world where we're using technology, but let me tell you a secret. 95% of our PMP students, for example, even though they know me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, they trust my quality, they trust me, but 95% prefer to give me a call before enrolling, or just to give me a call just to hear my voice, or just to get that, yeah, let's do it, or maybe they just they just want to hear me for some reason. Okay, why? We still need the human touch. Yes. I tell our students, you can get access to our platform for 159 euros or 500 Tunisian dinars, get full access, full course, full simulator, or for 1,000 dinars or 319 euros, you join the training with me, like the one we're launching uh, end of March. 95% of our students prefer the live training with me, not because they don't want to study on their own, but because they still prefer that human touch. Okay, so um, is that good? That's very good. Not for me, not for me because of the money. No, no, that's good because that means no matter how we use technology, like the smartphones, the internet, AI, there's still something in us that makes us want to feel related, feel loved, and that's the same applies to projects. Really, your stakeholders will always want you to be there for them, always, always, really. So AI, yes, can help us have better project results and outcomes, freeing the project managers for administrative tasks, even have higher compliance rates with guidelines and PMO. Well, that's so important to us. But I cannot understand a joke told by a Swedish colleague in an African project. I experienced that. Uh, a Swedish colleague told a joke. None of my African uh, teammates understood it, for example, because it's different culture. Okay. AI cannot calm an angry stakeholder. Imagine an angry stakeholder, so angry, and a machine comes to them and tells them, "Oh, Mr. Peter, we can do this, and instead of this, we will do this, and we will add this." I think Mr. Peter will simply break that machine. Okay, they don't need a machine to talk to them. Leading team members, motivating team members, understanding the needs of team members. I already mentioned earlier the example how I tried AI, on my team didn't work. Emotional intelligence, absolutely. AI is far from understanding that right now. It is learning, it is trying. We have that. You see, remember that lady who could see her colleague coming late, and she would feel that something is wrong with that colleague. Maybe from maybe from the way she dressed, maybe from the way she put makeup, maybe from the way she did not put makeup. I don't know. I don't know, but she knows. She knows something is wrong with her colleague. And I think all the ladies with us in this training can confirm that. I think all the ladies. Okay. So, um, so one of one of the participants asked, "Well, what us men?" Yeah, let me be honest. Ladies are much better with emotional intelligence than us. We try, but ladies are much better. Yeah. When you see your baby, who understands better the baby, you or the wife? Yeah, the wife looks at the baby and she knows what's wrong with the baby. Not because she's spending most of her time with the baby. I mean, if I work at home, I work from home most of my time, and we have a baby. My wife and I have a newborn baby. He's maybe 4 months old. I I am at home. I work and I watch my baby sometimes, but I'm not as good as the mother. The mother just she looks at the baby and she knows he needs to change the diaper, he needs to eat, he needs to sleep. Sometimes I cannot tell, even though I know it's not my first baby, but still, the mother is much more advanced with emotional intelligence than me. Okay, or understanding cultural differences. I already gave an example on that. Now I've prepared for you this table, and I hope that it can help you a little bit. Okay. I've prepared for you 10 examples of prompts and project management tasks that maybe and what is the suitable AI tool. Now again, this is just a suggestion. Doesn't mean that this is 100% correct or the only. For example, for project charter generation, now, you could ask ChatGPT to do it, like create a project charter for a project that aims to implement a cloud-based CRM system for 200 employee company, include objectives, scope, stakeholder risk, success criteria, and timeline. Well, this is an example. However, you could head over to Infinity, you go to agents, and here you have, for example, a project charter generator. So you start the chat with them. So this, on PMI Infinity, go to infinity.pmi.org and you ask it, this agent will help you create your project charter. So you see, you give them some background on scope, objective, and stakeholders. You add any notes you want, and you get your charter. It will help you get your charter. So you could do it in PMI Infinity, or you could, for example, use ChatGPT. Okay, ChatGPT to help you with that, for example. Okay, and here's an example of a prompt. Of course, with AI, the clearer you are in your prompts, the more detailed, of course, depending on what you're asking, the better results you get. Okay, because many people complain that AI is not giving them good results. Before blaming AI, check your prompt. Really, check your prompt. Or, for example, creating a WBS. Could ask ChatGPT, could ask Claude, another AI GPT, like generate a detailed WBS for implementing an e-commerce website. It's a good one. This is a good one. I can use it personally. Okay, if I work on a new type of project and I don't know how to create a WBS for that new type of project, I would ask AI to help me. I would ask it to break it into phases, deliverables, work packages suitable for scheduling. This is a good prompt, actually. Okay, try it yourself, guys. Project schedule generation. Maybe ClickUp AI. ClickUp is a tool similar to Trello or not Jira exactly, but yeah, it's used. I started using it many years ago in Agile projects. So, for example, create a project timeline for launching a mobile application in 6 months, include phases, tasks, dependencies, milestones, and estimated durations. Of course, you could add more data like how many team members you have, when you want to have it. The more information you feed AI with, the better results it will give you. Risk identification, risk register. Again, you go to ChatGPT, you could ask it as a project risk manager, identify. Sorry, you could tell it, act as a project risk manager. Now it will help ChatGPT know or wear the hat of a project risk manager. So identify 15 potential risks for a digital transformation project in a banking environment, provide profitability, impact, and mitigation strategies, for example. Okay. Meeting minutes and summaries. You could use Otter AI. You could use Copilot from Microsoft. I mentioned that earlier. Summarize this meeting transcript into decisions, action items, responsible persons, and deadlines, for example. Or, join me and listen, take notes, etc. Status reports for stakeholders. We all want that. You could use Notion AI. Create a weekly project status report summarizing progress, key achievements, upcoming tasks, risks, and issues for executive stakeholders, for example. Okay? And it will do that. It will provide you with a proposal. You can ask for adjustments. Once you're fine with it, with a template, you go with it. Stakeholder communication drafts. You could ask ChatGPT. By the way, ChatGPT is basically good for most of the tasks, but there are certain tasks where in which you could use other types of AI models because they're better trained for that. Draft a concise stakeholder update explaining 2 week schedule delay, the root cause, mitigation action, and the revised timeline. Task prioritization, you could use Motion AI, analyze this task list, prioritize based on urgency, business impacts, dependencies, recommend an optimal order of execution. Resource allocation optimization, you could use a forecast AI, another AI model. So based on this project schedule and team skill, you see, team skills are so important to mention because allocating resources requires having good idea on the team skills. Recommend the optimal allocation of 6 team members to maximize productivity and minimize bottlenecks. And finally, lessons learned documentation. ChatGPT analyze the following project summary, generate lessons learned report, including successes, failures, recommendations, best practices for future projects. Okay, so these are just examples of project management tasks, the maybe proper AI tool, and these are not the only tools. Okay, there are more tools and an example prompt. Okay, I think prompting will be it is already part. There is a course offered by PMI for prompting. It is on basic level. I think it will be updated to a better